A little bit of a wild week 10 around the NFL. The New England Patriots creating some distance between themselves and the Buffalo Bills. And have the New Orleans Saints found their quarterback? Oh, yeah. We got another coach firing in the NFL as well. All that and more on today's NFL Six Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us. Make sure you're all subbed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, which is, by the way, now the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. So thanks to all the everydayers and all the brand new listeners that helped make that happen. We go through the biggest 6 topics of the day here. We're going to have some overtime and some extra time to get into. Hopefully every single game, have some nuggets on everything that went down on week 10 Sunday, which is always a lot for our Monday episodes here. But man, another bit of news here before we get started is the New York Giants have officially now fired their head coach, Brian Daboll, out as the head man of the New York Giants. This coming in a week where a promising young first-round quarterback also gets hurt. You have Russell Wilson making an appearance in this football game, a team that cannot complete, that can't stick the landing, and just blowing fourth quarter leads for a team that doesn't have enough fourth quarter leads in the first place for the New York Giants, who fall to 2-8 after blowing yet another fourth quarter lead. 14 Bears points to come back in the fourth quarter to improve to 6-3, defeating those New York Giants. And now the story of the actual game takes a back seat to the bigger story of the Giants now firing their head coach.
Yeah, and it's a huge story. There's only 32 of these jobs in the world. And it definitely should be what we open the podcast, opening the week with. I just don't know how much it matters. I mean, I know that's such a bad look, and owners just can't stand come from behind losses, like throwing leads away. But we knew this Giants team wasn't super talented. They're developing a quarterback who got hurt again. And you look on the other side and you see Caleb Williams coming along really well. I mean, I think Bears fans should be pretty excited about the nucleus of this team and the streak they're on all of a sudden. Are they a playoff contender? I never thought I'd even utter those words this year. So maybe that adds to it. Like, hey, why can't we be like them? But what's it really accomplish? I don't really know. I mean, are they going to get a huge spike from whoever the interim is? I don't even know off the top of my head when we record this. Probably not. I was a part of one of these situations with the Browns when Butch Davis got fired a million years ago. Didn't make us block or tackle any better. We were still less talented than the teams we played, and my worry is more big picture is what do they do next? It all has to be about Jaxson Dart. And you better find someone that's excited to work with him. I mean, don't hire a guy that's like, oh, I want to draft Nussmeier or, Moore or somebody like that. It has to be somebody on board with your guy. And hopefully it's just not change after change after change for Dart over the next couple of years,
Yeah, well, that's where I have the problem with it. You say It doesn't change anything for this season. It absolutely does not. But it shows a huge failure from ownership down and the process of allowing a hot seat coach to draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, teams do this all the time.
How many first-round quarterbacks were there this year in the draft, Matt? Remind me.
There was Ward and Dart, and that's it, right?
2. And which coaches have been fired during the season?
I didn't put 2 and 2 together on that. Yep. Now, you're not good if you drafted a quarterback 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
But can we have any patience with this quarterback-coach relationship that you thought was good 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
And we've talked about this before on this podcast. It might have been called the Peacock and Williamson show at the time.
Probably.
But you either don't draft the quarterback and fire your coach now, or hire a new coach that still wants that same quarterback that you draft, or you allow the coach to draft a quarterback and then develop that quarterback
and stick with it and live with it.
we see not only young quarterbacks not develop and then eventually a coach gets fired, but we see the guy who drafted the coach get fired the year they drafted him. It can't happen. And it happens so often in the NFL. Some franchises do it over and over again.
So I know we're going to get to it. I see it on the little bullet point on the banner there about the Saints. And Shough was not a first-round quarterback, but it was a first-year hire head coach that's an offensive-minded guy that drafted a quarterback that apparently he or obviously they liked enough to take reasonably high. Can we not fire one or the other in 10 games in? You know what I mean?
I wonder if Shough playing well. Well, let's get to the next. A lot of this kind of goes together here. What's crazy is usually that rookie quarterback plays awful and everything looks bad and the coach is fired. I think you've seen the signs that Jaxson Dart probably is the guy. And I think this is a pretty good job for the next head coach to come coach a team with Jaxson Dart. Oh, yeah. And then you get a star wide receiver back to be his number one weapon.
Yeah.
Maybe
left tackle,
running back. I'm not sure exactly what Scatabo is going to be. I have a feeling his star is going to shine bright for a short time and then
I'm not putting a ton of stock in him
and blow out pretty quick. But we'll see what he is. But a team with a really good front seven, that's a pretty good place to start.
You got a star receiver, a star left tackle, a promising quarterback that you're on board with or you wouldn't have gotten hired, a big time D line, and draft picks again.
Yeah. And if you've already got your quarterback, you can utilize those draft picks to move around, and you've already got your defensive line. So the expensive things you've already got. So if you're the
right,
you can be like, okay, let's move around. Let's move down and add more draft picks and build the rest of this football team out for those stars to carry us through and have a really nice foundation here for something going forward. So it's a really good job, I think. And then you look at a team like the Tennessee Titans, who fired their head coach. I don't think there's been anything that I've seen from a bad football team from Cam Ward put in a tough spot to be like, oh, he's not the guy. So I think it wasn't the quarterback that got the coaches fired. It was that they were already the ownership already didn't believe in those coaches in the first place, which is why you can't go down that road and hire the quarterbacks for those or draft the quarterbacks for those coaches. And then now you get to Shough. Am I getting too ahead of myself to say that Shough looks really good and that the Saints might actually have their guy? He showed poise in the pocket, pocket maneuverability, showed some accuracy for a Saints team that had a lot of trouble winning games with Spencer Rattler, and they were competitive earlier on in the season, I think, but they were able to beat the Panthers, who were a team that had done a really good job of winning football games more than we expected this year. They were above 500 football team. Panthers now dropping to 5-5 after losing to the Saints 17-7. Now Shough didn't like the scoreboard on fire. They only scored 17 points, but it was enough to win that game. It was only the second win of the season for the New Orleans Saints. And Shough threw for nearly 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and really the key thing for a quarterback because he looked like he belonged. He looked poised.
1,000%. And I brought them up early just because I hope they don't fall in the same trap because, frankly, you said it really well that their head coach his seat wasn't hot when the pick was made. Where Tennessee's might have been, the Giants was on fire.
Yes.
On draft day. No one is shocked by this. And if you think the coach is terrible, like New England last year, like that guy drafted Drake MAye, but you look at him and be like, you were a bad hire. I understand that. But it just happens 8,000 times in this league where back and forth where we'll give the coach one more year and then he's gone. And then you get somebody else that maybe doesn't like the quarterback as much. I'm not ready to anoint Shough. We don't have to anoint him right now. It's November 10th. But I always bring this up when we talk about the Saints. The last first-round quarterback that this team took was Archie Manning. And Shough's the only second-round pick they've taken since Archie Manning. So philosophically, they don't love dipping their toe in the quarterback high draft water. Do they just take the best defensive end available and give it a year? I would totally understand that. And what I saw yesterday, I'm leaning that way in the very, very early stage of this conversation.
And they've been a team that they want to do that anyway. So I would bet everything. And, unless, Shough, look, get ahead of ourselves. If you want to talk about an overreaction Monday, a nice little game against a team that I'm still not sure is all that good in the Carolina Panthers. We'll see what it looks like the rest of the way for Tyler Shough and the Saints. But they want to be a team that's talked into we're good enough to act like we're going to win games next year.
Yeah,
exactly. Him playing well will do that for them, and they won't be drafting a quarterback high. And it'll be business as usual for the Saints, which it has been for the last 20 years. Do you remember what they traded to get Drew Brees?
No, he was a free agent because he was going to sign with Miami, but he failed their physical with a shoulder, and so New Orleans got him. Right?
Yes. Okay.
Because they drafted Rivers because of the shoulder. Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of like Peyton Manning when Luck came along, But Breeze wasn't Breeze then either. I mean, Chargers Breeze was not Saints Breeze.
Chargers Breeze looked okay, but then he had the shoulder, and it was like, well, he wasn't a big strapping guy to begin with, and there was questions about him, and enough for them to go draft a first-round quarterback in Phillip Rivers.
Right. They were picking early, and it was a good quarterback draft, so they were going to get Ben Rivers or Eli. And actually, they took Eli.
Kind of, we skipped over the Bears.
I forgot they took Eli. Yeah,
Bears are in the the Giants, Chargers. Don't draft me. They drafted him, figured out a trade. What a strange situation that was. We skipped over the Bears. Just one more quick note on the Bears. They're going in the right direction. They're a 6-win football team right now. They're in the thick of a playoff race in the NFC. And you feel good about the young nucleus that you talked about and how the quarterback is developing with the new head coach. And speaking of teams that like to draft quarterbacks and then fire the guy that drafted them.
They're good at that.
They're going in the right direction. And they were buyers at the deadline. Not huge buyers.
Yeah.
They were trying to fix some of their weaknesses as much as they could. And after this thing. So I think that division and that team is really interesting going forward.
I do too.
Very least.
Yeah, and they had a ton of drops, but they were minor buyers at the deadline, but they're still getting Loveland and Burden and those guys heavily involved, and the running back too. I mean, like I think the offense is basically set, which was their whole goal for the offseason. And next year I bet it'll be all about the defense.
Put a pin in the Bears.
Man.
Put a pin in the Bears. Got a question in the mailbag for at Williamson NFL about Steelers, Bears, off-season happenings potentially upcoming. And I like the idea. Next, let's talk about the AFC East and the New England Patriots creating some separation with the Buffalo Bills instead of the opposite direction, which we thought would be happening right about now after Week 10, and a whole lot more from the Week 10 Sunday six-pack. Next.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Rippling. And when it comes to your business, and if you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS, software as a service, as it is known, promised to make work easier. But now the average company is buried in hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. And that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the united platform for global HR, payroll, IT, finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools in one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. And by uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. So whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operation as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, moving on in our six-pack following Week 10 and going to the AFC East. The New England Patriots are the real deal, Matt, and they're finding something on both sides of the football under Mike Vrabel. They've got a star-in-the-making quarterback in Drake MAye, and the Buffalo Bills are over here losing to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
The worst team in the divisions. You got to feel really good if you wake up on Monday morning as a New England Patriots fan with the way Week 10 went. And just not even, it's not even close. They could screw around next week and still not even be in any sort of peril of losing the top spot in the division right now to those Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and all of us that had to withstand the other end of the AFC of the Brady era don't think this fan base really deserves it. Like, come on, man, have some down times more than 2 or 3 years. And I think they've got the next great quarterback, frankly. And
Gosh, he's good.
Yeah, he's really good. And you're right, it's not just one side of the ball. Some of their young pups, Williams, the receiver, Kyle Williams, and Henderson started to emerge more in this game too. So, like, the whole class is starting to look pretty darn good. They got a coach. They got a lot of cap space and resources and stuff going forward. I thought for sure Tampa was going to push them, they're like 7 steps ahead of where they should be. I thought they were going to take a step back this week against a quality Tampa team that wins their division every year. Nope. Rebounded strong, and they were really, really good.
Huge game for the New England Patriots to defeat, as you mentioned, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 28-23 there. Consistency for those Patriots. Just a touchdown a quarter. You're good. You're in good shape there. Drake MAye playing great. They found something now in a guy that I loved coming out of the draft was Travion Henderson, the running back. Yeah. And now finally taking over that backfield, 147 yards on the ground. Here's the thing. Travion Henderson had more yards after contact than total rushing yards. He had 160 yards after contact and only 147 rushing yards, which means he was getting contact in the backfield, still making big runs. One of those was a huge touchdown run that he had off the edge. They're finding success on the outside. They're still not finding a lot of success in between the tackles, but that's okay because Travion Henderson is made for that. Tons of speed, 2 touchdown runs for him. I mentioned the long one, and he's looking over at the sideline like, I'm icing the game here. Should I just get down or do I go in the end zone? It's rare that you have that much time as an NFL running back where you're able to just put it in cruise control for a second, kind of
have a conversation with the coach.
Right. Coach, good. Should I stop here? No, go in the end zone. All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and score. I mean, pretty amazing. And the run defense might be even the bigger story for the Patriots. Am I seeing this correctly? That the Patriots have not allowed a single rusher to go for more than 53 yards.
Wow. First I heard that. I know it's one of the best in the league and they fly to the football and I like their front 7 quite a bit now, but I did not know that. That's crazy.
So things going really well for the 8-2 New England Patriots. And man, when you're playing defense and you've got some weapons on offense, Kyle Williams, by the way, was a player I almost forgot about when this Patriots teams. I really liked him in the draft, a 3rd round pick. And so the day 2 selections coming alive as weapons with big touchdowns in this game against a really good team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are in a fight. But they're in a fight record-wise for seeding. But I think they'll have a pretty good shot at that 4 seed still because the Panthers lose, the Atlanta Falcons lose. More notes on the Falcons in a minute here, but the Buffalo Bills, you can't just go get not only beat but just thumped. You're getting shut out through 3 quarters if you're the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins. Bills fall to 6-3, and the Dolphins improve to 3-7 now on the season.
So you cover a team closely. I cover a team closely. And sometimes when you just know a team, you're like, man, the Steelers haven't won in Philadelphia like my whole life. They never will. And the Bills have kind of that in Miami. But usually it's like 100 degrees and you come from like 30-degree temperatures and you can kind of explain it away. But maybe it's more to it. If you're that close to the Bills, maybe you're just like, we always lose in Miami. That's the way it goes. But I 2 things I think to really take out of this is the Bills defense showed a lot of signs of life against the Chiefs. But really, other than that game, it has not been a good unit all year. And Achan ripped them apart. And I have to give the Dolphins credit. I mean, they've always kind of moved the ball. Waddle and Chan, and he's a really good offensive mind. And say what you want about Tua, he's not a bad player. But I just heard this on a podcast this morning when I was buzzing around that we all think of them as just a horrendous run defense. And they were horrendous for a better part of the year. But over the last month, they're number one in EPA versus a run. Like, where'd that come from?
There are some teams that are just, I don't even know what the term is. They are, they're so up and down, and in a league with a lot of parity, which is the way the NFL wants it. You have a team like the Dolphins that can go beat a team like the Bills and then look like the worst team in the league the next week, and you have a team like the 49ers who are all banged up and they're super underdogs against the Los Angeles Rams on a short week Thursday night on the road. They go win that game, then they get the same team at home a few weeks later and just get completely throttled like you thought they were going to the first time. And, which team is going to show up? The Arizona Cardinals look good one week. Next week, just completely bamboozled. The Jaguars look like they're going to make a run at this thing, and then all of a sudden now they can't win a football game. I think it's just the Carolina Panthers. I have no idea what to expect from the Carolina Panthers week to week. The Vikings are kind of like that. The Ravens are like that. Ravens defeating the Vikings in a game that was kind of that type of game anyway. And so, you're just trying to grasp at things that you feel like and you can count on week to week. And I feel like those things are dwindling right now in the NFL.
You kind of stole the words out of my mouth. And I just finished a 2-hour Steelers show. And as you can imagine, after that Sunday night debacle, nobody's happy. Right. They're the best example. Right. They just beat the Colts and shut down Taylor, and they were awesome on defense, blah, blah. And what I've been saying is, the Steelers are an extremely week-to-week team in an extremely week-to-week league. And it almost makes our job semi-obsolete. Like, picking games is impossible nowadays.
We pick fewer than we used to. We used to pick every game, and we've condensed it to a 6-pack of picks on our Friday episodes. Right. And I think our pick percentages are going to go up because of that. Let's talk a little bit more about that Steelers team. I want to talk about another rusher that went crazy for the Indianapolis Colts, and more from our Week 10 post-game reaction 6-pack next. This episode of NFL 6-Pack brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NBA season's back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a basketball game and you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine those live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And it keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is the one making that late push. And of course, as we know in the NBA, everyone makes a push at some point in an NBA game. So you want to be on hand for that, even if you miss opening tip-off. And it's the same for the NFL. Live in-game betting, all the weekly lines, tons of ways to play, player props, season-long props, and a whole lot more. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com or download the app to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Rolling along in our 6-pack following Week 10 action and our biggest takeaways here. And I want to go to the Indianapolis Colts, who are a team that both impressed me and left me thinking that they're not as good as their record says they are. And this is a team that has played one of the weakest schedules so far on the season. Talked a little bit about it last week when we were talking about this team. And they were on the brink of losing a football game to the Atlanta Falcons. They were able to force overtime, and then Jonathan Taylor did his thing in overtime, and the Colts came out victorious and did defeat those Falcons 31-25. The Colts improving to 8-2 now, best record in the NFL, tied for the best record. And the Falcons just in a tough spot, falling to 3-6 on the season. And the reason I preface it all that way, Matt, is this is the best team in the league record-wise, and everyone's heaping praise, which they should, on Shane Steichen, the head coach, and Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor. And then they go out and make this huge deadline deal, all in, push their chips in, go get Sauce Gardner. And they were still a team that, and the Falcons were one of the more disappointing teams I saw earlier this year when they played the 49ers. I'm watching the Colts play this team, and I was like, this team is not the powerhouse that their record says they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if the Colts might be a team that still ends the season with only 10 or 11 wins, looking ahead at their schedule. But at the same time, when push came to shove, when you can hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor 32 times and get 244 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, including overtime, that's a pretty good weapon to have. And they're good enough everywhere else to be really competitive and be a good football team. I'm just not sure if they're the best team in the NFL that their record says they are. And oh, by the way, you go trade for Sauce Gardner. How about not have a linebacker one-on-one with Drake London?
Yeah.
What are we doing there?
What are we doing here? So I thought the Falcons got pushed around. I think they're somewhat of a finesse team. But I think I like the Colts a little more than you do, just by the way you phrased that last couple sentences. But I also think, boy, this screams like the team that wins their division going away, and Buffalo comes there in round 1 and wins by 20. You know what I mean?
And all of a sudden you're sitting there like, what just happened? The
What
season's
just happened?
over. It's second week of January. And it's not that I think the Colts are a bad team.
No.
I think they deserve a lot of the praise that they're getting. It's just that they haven't played enough they haven't beaten enough teams on their schedule that I'm like, oh, okay, this team is battle tested. Because
I don't know if they're weather battle tested. Yeah.
Teams that are multiple games under 500. They have 6 wins now. Falcons, 3-6 football team, 2 against the Titans. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Raiders. Like all of the worst teams in the NFL are the teams they've beaten this year.
Yeah. And they might be the team, though, I take their over win total next year. Like they get beat bad in the first round or something, learn a lot about what it takes to win a big time game. And then, oh, this was a really good learning year. Maybe we outkicked our coverage a little bit. I definitely think they're good. I wouldn't pick them against the Chiefs in the playoffs, though.
That's who they play next, man.
Oh, is it? That's fun.
Yeah, they got
okay.
The Chiefs coming up. They got the Chiefs. They got the Seahawks. They've got.
Oh, we might learn a lot more before the playoffs then.
Yeah, and they got 2 more again. They got the Niners as well. They got 2 more against. They've only played 2 division games. Both of those were the Tennessee Titans. They still have both against the Jaguars, both against the Houston Texans coming up.
Okay, well, they're going to own that division.
Yeah. Speaking of that division, though, how about a Texans 26-point fourth quarter comeback to defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 36-29 with not CJ Stroud. It was Davis Mills at quarterback that was running this comeback. Let's talk about 2 teams that you can't figure out who they are week to week, man. The Texans improved to 4-5. The Jaguars fall to 5-4. And maybe that's just it. It's just take one, give one away. That's what these 2 teams are going to be this year.
Maybe. But this one is a tough one to swallow if you're like Jacksonville's owner or fan base or whatever. Like, this is a game you probably should. I don't pay a lot of attention to that NFL win probability stuff that they do in game, but I bet it was pretty high, pretty late in this game.
Yeah,
for the Jags.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that when it was 29-10, people were leaving the stadium in Houston, and they're regretting it because they were listening to this comeback happen on the radio on their way home.
And Davis Mills breaks your back with a scramble who can't move at all. And we know that the Houston D is legit.
292 passing yards, 45 attempts for Davis Mills, a couple of touchdowns, did have an interception. Trevor Lawrence, 13 of 23. Look, that's a good defense in Houston, but Jacksonville was able to put some points on the board early in this game. Touchdown by Parker Washington, and was it 2 touchdowns by Parker Washington?
Yeah, Washington, good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I just lost it. It was on my screen there, and I just lost it. But 20-0 at halftime, or 20-10 at halftime, 29-10 going into the fourth quarter. So huge win for the Houston Texans, who probably still think that they can do something this year, and they've proven that it doesn't really matter who's at quarterback. Their offense is going to be their offense, and they're going to be carried by their defense. It's probably
I was ready to bury them if they lost.
And the Jaguars, again, one of those teams, they look good week to week, and then they look just flat out awful. at times as well. So I don't
Really
yes,
untrustworthy.
Parker Washington had the 73-yard punt return as well as a receiver.
Oh, okay. I knew he scored twice, but okay.
All right. Here's a couple of teams that I do know that are good. And they are the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC West.
They might be the best two teams.
Yes. And they play each other next week, which is going to
fun.
be our game of the week. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about these two teams as the week goes along here. The Rams 42-26 win, 4 touchdown passes for Matthew Stafford in this one against the 49ers that, finally they started to really look undermanned in this football game, despite Mac Jones actually still playing really well, throwing for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns of his own. And then the Seattle Seahawks doing a number, especially just getting out to this huge early lead. 44-22 win for the Seahawks over the Jacoby Brissett-led Arizona Cardinals. And both walkaway wins from the Seahawks and the Rams, both 7-2 football teams. Both teams are going to play each other next week. It was going to be a whole lot of fun.
No doubt. And I think there's 2 MVP candidates, quarterback in these two teams. I don't know if anyone's playing better than Stafford on the planet right now. Hard to find chinks in the Rams' armor in any phase. But to me, the story is Seattle scored 44 points and threw 12 passes. I mean, they scored twice on defense. They just ran it down their throat. They were never in jeopardy. They didn't have to do anything. And just threw 12 passes and scored 44 points.
And on those 12 passes, if I'm not mistaken, Sam Darnold threw into the other team as well.
Yeah, he took a sack on one, threw an interception on one, threw a touchdown to Smith and Jigba, and that was it. Smith and Jigba had 5 catches, and he had 5 out of 10 catches, Yeah,
10% of Darnold's completions were to the other team, and they won 44-22.
They won 44 points up. Yeah, they were never threatened.
No. Jaxson Smith and Jigba, fantasy MVP on the year. Just a machine. And even when he only has 5 catches, he still gets you 93 yards and a tutty.
Yeah. There were some big fantasy performances. We talked about Henderson, Achan, obviously Taylor, right?
Yeah, Taylor, 200. I mean, Taylor, first of all, he's still only 26 years old, which is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
And he still looks fast. Like Christian McCaffrey's got a lot of wear and tear on his tires, and he might have lost a half of the step. Jonathan Taylor hasn't lost a step. In fact, might look a little bit leaner and faster this year.
I think he's more explosive than I've ever seen him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I'll be buying his stock in 3 years when he's 29 years old and he's got all these carries under his belt. But for right now, he's playing about as high of a level as you can as an NFL running back. A few more quick notes here. Try to get to just about every game in the NFL. Good news for the Commanders that Jaden Daniels not actually going to need surgery, so he might not even go on IR. I'm not sure what the official, if they actually did that this week or not, but it's not.
I don't think he's on the list, so yeah. I think they're still holding hope.
Not as severe of an injury as they thought with him, but their season's still going in the wrong direction. Losing to the Lions, another blowout win, another 44-22 total. Lions doubling up on the Commanders, 6-3 Lions. Commanders falling to 3-7. There was the Jets victorious over the Cleveland Browns, which was an ugly football game. And the biggest note I have on that game is the draft implications there. Going from an 8% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft to the 27% chance to getting the first pick in the NFL draft there. Sorry.
And since we just brought up Seattle throwing 12 passes in a very, very, very different light, the Jets only attempted 11 passes in this game.
Also throwing a pick, but also having a big win.
Yeah.
And I got to end this by asking you, because we talked a little bit about it. The Pittsburgh Steelers and their loss on Sunday night, was that the Chargers being better than you expected, or the Steelers being worse than you expected?
Both. I was very impressed with the Chargers game plan, hiding a good the awful offensive line, strong defensive game plan, and I think Harbaugh's a great coach, but it was the Steeler passing game, and frankly, Aaron Rodgers were terrible. I mean, it's the worst that they've played. It was the only game that I would say Rodgers was bad as a Steeler, and he was real bad. And the whole passing game, the protection, the lack of a number 2 receiver, the whole passing game was hideous.
some really, and I love it because when you get the entire football world watching one game in prime time, you always get a lot of fun side stuff that happens. The clips of Mike Tomlin's facial expressions during that game of being like disappointed, being angry, and at one point being like, what am I even doing here? What am I watching? This is not the team I thought I was going to be coaching on this night. And after the game, Aaron Rodgers said about himself exactly what you just said, and said how bad he played. So not the greatest effort for Aaron Rodgers. And really, the Steelers were able to get after the quarterback, which was weird for a team that's
30
down
pressures.
multiple scores. And they were actually decent against the run. It was just that the scoreboard was such a way that the Chargers could keep pounding the ball with Vidal, and he ended up having a really good night. But it wasn't like he was gouging him for 250 yards like he was Jonathan Taylor either.
No, and ball came out of Herbert's hands in 2.22 seconds on average. I mean, like almost impossible. And they still had 30 pressures on the guy without blitzing all that much. Like it's not like the Chargers blocked it up. I mean, especially in the passing game. And Herbert was great. The Steelers' biggest problem, they run the fewest offensive plays in the league, only 55. For example, the Chargers are number one. They run 66. And they're like the worst time possession team in the league. And it's been for a multitude of reasons. For much of the year, the defense couldn't get off the field. Now the offense can't get a first down. You know, like every game they're just on the field way too much on defense.
Yeah, so that's not ball control. That's we're not getting first downs.
It's kind of week to week. I mean, lately it's been they can't get first downs. Early in the season, they couldn't stop teams from getting first downs.
There you go. What are your biggest takeaways from week 10? Of course, we've got a Monday nighter still to go. And of course, your questions as well this week on the NFL six-pack mailbag. So get those questions in at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. And thanks again, everybody, for making us your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network.